All right. Hear and see me fine, no lags or anything like that.
Not right now. There was a minute ago, but hopefully it'll be fine.
Okay. Let's hope.
Where are you?
I am in the
Oh,
Caribbean.
yeah, there is a lag now.
There's a lag.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, yeah, lag again. Okay.
It's telling me my internet connection is unstable. I'm thinking of what I can do. Would have to move. And
Where in the Caribbean are you?
I'm in Bonaire. Do you know Bonaire?
Oh, okay. That's near Aruba.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Aruba is our sister
Near
island.
Aruba, right?
Yes, you have the ABC Islands, basically. Yeah. Let me try and move.
Yes. Yeah, I was in Curacao.
Hello? Yeah, you were in Curacao?
Okay. Yes, many years ago, long before you were born, I went on a little trip with my parents.
Oh, my dad is from Curacao.
Oh, good. Good. And I also have a sewing machine.
Nice.
We don't see a lot of sewing machines now. My kids
No,
laugh at it.
really.
You
What?
sewing?
Yeah, so I'm learning. I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm like great at it yet, but I'm learning. I want to make my own clothes.
Is it your mother's?
No, it's mine.
Is it from your mother?
No, they bought it. My parents bought it for me. I'm just moving to a hopefully more stable internet connection.
Are you going to make your own clothing or for other people?
Well, I want to start for my own, and if I'm good enough, I'm open to making clothes for other people. No hay que hacer a mi parte más. See? Oh my God. Never had to move room like this. Let's see.
Hope it works.
Yeah. Yeah, but the source of the internet is here. So I thought it should be more stable. And I can connect it by wire here.
Mm.
No, meeting loose. Meeting loose. Meeting loose. Oh, it's this tool. Can I connect it by wire? This is a new laptop. No. Sí. Okay. I hope that works. Okay, yes. Wow, so sorry about that. I hope I'm lagging less. All right. It's not as nice of a backdrop, but it'll do. Okay. Can you hear me still?
Yes.
Okay.
Good,
All right.
good.
That was a trip. Um, all right. Thank you for joining me. And for reaching out. I'll just put your information to the side there so I have it. So welcome to the Poison Honey podcast. On this podcast, I discuss stories of life with people and get a bit vulnerable with a dash of humor. And yeah, it's been fun so far. And I actually stopped for a while and I restarted recently because I really liked having these conversations with people. So I would ask you, I have to switch on a little bit. Okay. So today I have Loretta Graziano Brunning. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Yes. So correct me if I'm wrong, but Brunning sounds Dutch, actually.
Yes, it is. It's German.
Ah,
It's from my ex-husband's family, though, so it's not mine. Graziano is my name. It's Italian.
okay. Yes, because I looked at the website and Brunning was there, so I took the full name. But okay, so Loretta Graziano. And then Graziano sounds Italian or Spanish.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I only use Bruning because it's too long, and I use Bruning because it was my children's name, but then my children went and changed their names.
Oh, oh, always fun. So, I think you prepared a story to share with us today. And I'm very curious, what is the story that you would like to share with us?
Sure. Well, when I was young, I was very afraid of people. Of course, I was not aware of it. And I think most kids are somewhat afraid of people, but I didn't have friends and I was very ashamed of that. And then many decades later, I read a lot of books and learned a lot and had a lot of therapy. And I had some very big surprises, which I think are useful for people because now, like everybody talks about, oh, nobody includes me, nobody's nice to me, like everybody leaves me out. And so I just thought it was a useful story to share. So part of this is that my mother was very scary. So I learned to be scared of people. But also, she came from a very bad situation. So she learned not to trust people.
Yeah.
So I learned that from her. But after all, that's like the usual therapy thing. But then finally, one therapist said to me that instead of thinking that people were rejecting me, that I was the one that was rejecting other people. And when she first said that, I was very surprised and really upset, you know?
Yeah.
But then I realized not only like was it true, but it was such a good thing to know. Because a simple example that I think most people would understand is like a lot of people you hear when they're at a party and they really don't want to be there. They would just rather be home, you
Yeah,
know?
I've been there.
Yeah. So on the one hand, you don't want to not be invited to the party, but then you don't really want to go to the party. So why not just be glad that you weren't invited to it? Or a simpler way to think about it is if I really liked being at parties, then I would communicate that and then I would be invited. But somehow I'm communicating that I don't like to be at
No.
parties. So that's fine. Now everybody's happy, you know.
Right.
So that's my story.
But then, so you you basically had generational trauma in your family, if I hear that correctly, which is something also that I've experienced myself. And there's this process of unlearning things. How was this process for you?
That's a great question because I have this one memory that's so strong. So I realized at one point, and it was already like middle age, that I was not making eye contact with people. And partly I learned that because I was a professor, a college professor, and I had many students from Asia. And they had learned that you're not supposed to make eye contact with the teacher. And so when they did that to me, I realized that it's uncomfortable and that I was doing that to other people. So I decided I was going to practice making eye contact with people. So I'm practicing in a shop where I'm paying money to buy my groceries. And I look at the person and she did not look back at me. And I got very upset at first.
Yeah.
And then I realized that that's why I had this fear, like when I was young, that I was being ignored and
Yeah.
that it was very deep because it was very early.
Yeah.
And so I was not looking at people because I was afraid they wouldn't look at me and I would feel that it was a rejection. But then I realized that the reason that she wasn't looking at me is because I didn't look at her at first and because she has a job to do. And
Right.
then I realized that it's not all about me, that the other person has their life. And then I just relaxed.
Yeah, that's true. That I think there's a saying that, as you said, first of all, not everything is about us, but also that everyone is having like their own experience, and a lot of the times we are projecting like
Yes.
what we're feeling inside.
Yes.
And yeah, I think it's a wonderful thing when you finally have this realization and you're able to actually do something with it, and you become calmer within yourself. At least that's how I experienced it. I don't know if it's the same for you. Um, but yeah, that's how I experienced it. And did this I'm assuming that this experience that you've had, like from early on, with your mom, and then going to treatment yourself, and essentially healing and unlearning thing, this has informed the work that you now do. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do?
Sure. So I read a lot of books about the brain because I wanted to learn more about why my brain was creating this experience. And I wanted to learn for myself because I was surrounded by ideology and I could see that it was just ideology and I didn't trust it. And as I was reading all these books, I read a lot of mention about research on animals. And I started to understand that our emotions are controlled by the part of our brain that's inherited from animals. And it turns on good or bad feelings based on what would be important for an animal. Now, what matters for an animal is first, they have to find food all the time so they don't die, and they have to hide from predators all the time. So they're always looking for opportunity, and then happy chemicals turn on when they see a resource. And that's what we humans are doing. We're always looking around for an opportunity, and then our happy chemicals turn on and we go toward it. And then once we get it, like an animal getting some food, once you get it, the happy feeling stops because it has already done its job of motivating the action.
Wow.
And so we have to understand that our happy chemicals are not designed to be on all the time. So I was fortunate to take early retirement and to study this and to study it on my own because no universities approve of this.
Mhm.
And then I started writing books and I wrote a lot of books.
And how many? I looked. You sent me the link, so I looked at the page, but for the audience, like how many books did you write about this topic?
About 10.
And how, first of all, how was that experience for you writing it?
Well, everyone has their own pleasures, and I love to write. So for me, it's almost like an addiction. Like I have to force myself to not write, and also, when you write, people don't necessarily read it, and I don't really love to do marketing.
Yeah.
So that's like I have to force myself to do the marketing, and so like I have to, like, maybe if you have an addiction and you have rules to limit yourself, and so I have to limit myself from writing and force myself to do marketing. But it's such a pleasure talking to people like you, so
Yeah,
that makes it
thank you.
fun.
Well, you could perhaps use your writing addiction in the marketing and use it to market. But I completely get the the issue with marketing. It is something that I'm having to come to terms with myself. That I want to create things. So I do writing as well, but I also paint and I create like the podcasts and videos and these things. But they also have to be marketed somehow, and I'm you know I'm also having this issue with marketing. And um, for me at least, I've learned that that's a subconscious thing of perhaps not wanting to be seen. I make the joke that for my career, I really have to be out there and presenting myself, but a part of me likes to really be under the blanket and, with the hot chocolate and just watching television. And yeah, so I completely resonate with that part of your journey. But how long have you been doing this work?
Oh, good question. Well, I've been studying psychology since I first, since high school. I guess like a lot of people study psychology because they want to understand what's going on. But because I was a college professor, I lost trust in academic psychology, in what
Okay.
universities are producing, because they're basically rewarding people who say what they want to hear and
Mm.
ignoring research that says what people don't want to hear. And the way that fits my work is simple. So people want to hear that animals are cooperative and loving and peaceful, and all human problems are caused by capitalism and the evils of modern society. And this is just not true at all. Animals fight all the time. They compete all the time. They steal food from children. They kill each other, you know? And academic psychology is just lying. So, how long have I been, like, I would say it was, I almost remember the day. It was like 23 years ago when I learned that, what I just said.
Wow.
And since then, I've been putting more and more time into wanting to teach other people about this. And also, partly, it's not just books, but I watched nature videos. And at first, nature videos had the truth about all this that I'm saying. And
Yes.
then slowly over time, all of the nature videos started to go to the false view of animals having the peace and love message.
And do you think that part of it is us? I'm gonna implicate all of us now, but just broadly saying us, like in the academics, not wanting to see that connection is also some kind of cognitive dissonance that we don't want to associate ourselves with that we are animals, essentially.
No, that's not the problem. Everyone thinks that's the problem. The
Mhm.
problem is that academia wants to teach you to blame society and blame the system, and to think that if we change the system, then everything will be effortlessly happy all the time. So they want you to think that we're like animals, but they want to say that animals are better, that animals are basically living a socialist life where they share all the food, which is absolutely not true. But that's the message that they want you to accept.
Okay. Interesting. Just because of I studied international development management, so there's an element of wanting to make the world better and you know systemic change and this kind of thing. But I also realized that there was something deeper, and now that you're telling me this, that adds a different layer even to it, because even in my wanting to make things better, I realized that first of all, we're not going to change everything. It's not going to be like a utopia, where we're all like singing kumbaya and that type of thing. But the idea that like in our instinct, um, we won't be able to reach that point anyway just adds like a whole new dimension for it. And,
Yes, yes. Well, here's an example. When I actually also studied international development long ago, and you observe that it's all a competition to get grant money, right?
yes.
And some people have the power to give out grant money, and they give it to their friends. And so you put all of your effort to be one of their friends, then you'll get money. If you're
Yeah.
not one of their friends, then you don't get money. And it has nothing to do with the value, the effectiveness, the content of what you're doing.
Yes.
And how do you become their friend? Well, there's often like easy ways. From an animal perspective, it's like us versus them. So if you say that I'm on your team and anyone you like, I like, and anyone you hate, I hate. And that's how the animal brain works.
Yeah.
And so if I were a young person and I needed money to pay my rent and feed my children, I might be forced to think that way and do that. But maybe on some level, I would know that it was fake.
Yeah.
But because I'm officially retired, I get a little more choice of like, do I want to do that? But you probably see it's the same with podcasts, I think. Right.
Yeah, I think it's uh, definitely oh my God. Definitely true. um, what you just said about like the friend politics. I don't know if you have that word in English as well.
Yes.
That yeah, you have to you need to, well, if not friends, then at least know that person and have them in your network or through a friend or something like that. And that is definitely one of my pet peeves, and that's why the approach I've taken is okay, I'm just gonna grow my business, and hopefully, like in my ideal world, I will have the business will have its own resources that I can then put in my own projects instead of, because I absolutely hate the grant like process, because you have to do so much and then you wait a couple of months and then you still might be at point zero because you have to start all over again and go seek another grant, and each grant has like a different thing that they want to see, so you have to go and adapt the document again for them. It's yeah.
Yes.
It's
And often after you do all the work, it sort of comes down to some corruption is involved. And you have to involve yourself in the corruption in order to get the money. And it's sad. But that's why it was so interesting for me to see how it works with animals. So the word is a social alliance. Alliance, like someone is your ally. And if you have a group of, animals or humans, and they're always worried about getting attacked, and what the brain cares about is, if I'm attacked, will you be on my side? Will you fight for me?
Yeah.
And if you will, then I will share resources with you. If you don't fight for me, then you become the enemy, and all of my allies are going to be fighting you.
Yeah.
So you're sort of pressured to be on a team. And I'm like you, is like, I just don't want to be on a team. So I have the imagination that I think I can make it work myself. But, often the only way to do something big is to plug into a network that already exists. And
Yeah.
then you have to join a team in their corruption. So that's the trade-off that we all have.
Yeah. Oh, I see so many situations flashing before my eyes. It's true. I think from you can see that from our individual lives to like the big politics and like that. Yeah, it is. And how yeah, so I'll rephrase my question. The Inner Mammal Institute. Do you is it only the books, or is there anything else that you do through your organization?
Well, I try to have a lot of free resources, partly so people can get the message without buying the books, but also because a lot of people don't read books. So I also try to make videos.
Hmm.
I also have an online course, which is more expensive because, all the coaches tell you to have a more expensive resource.
Yeah.
And I offer coaching. I don't do a lot of that, but it's brief coaching to help people target the rewiring project. If I explain to people how to rewire your brain. So it's not just about being frustrated with the world, but what can I do to be happy with where I am now? And how can I get to there given the wiring that I built when I was young? So the idea is to teach people how to do that. And let's see. So that's that. Yeah, it's just me.
Okay.
Me and whoever I hire, in the short
Yeah.
run to help me, which is mostly, as you probably know, a lot of computer frustrations.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of that myself, but then I often have frustrations and I have to get help.
Yeah, no, it's understandable, and I think I'm also a solopreneur until now, and yes, at times you just need that extra hand, and yeah, I like that it's possible, even though technology is offering us headaches. Sometimes it also offers us these possibilities of like hiring someone online. But yeah, I think it's really interesting, as you were saying about the rewiring of the brain. And could you, I mean, you don't have to tell us in details, of course, but like how would I come to you, I say, Loretta, I want to rewire my brain. What is the process that we go through?
Sure. So I start with what animal trainers do, because most people have some exposure to how an animal trainer works. And with an animal, you can't just tell them, I will give you a treat if you spin around in a circle, because they don't know what a circle is. So what an animal trainer does is, like, if an animal turns his head one way, they'll give it a little treat. And then the animal will turn its head more because it wants another treat. And this is what we can do with ourselves. You give yourself a small treat when you have a small step toward the goal that you want. And you have to be very specific about the goal that you want. So in the example I used before, that I had to learn how to make eye contact with people and to be calm about it. So my goal was to go into a store, make eye contact with a person, and then if I got anxious afterwards, I had to notice my anxious feeling and then relax and go do something fun for 5 minutes to relieve the bad feeling. And that connects my brain in a new way. And then to repeat that every day to build the connection stronger. So that's the simple answer.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a interesting way of that unlearning process and relearning the actual traits that you want. Um, and so if we are, I'm going back into my idealistic self. If we are to um, let's say actually bring some kind of change where more people could maybe my question is that possible? Can we bring some kind of change where more people know that um, this way of thinking, this recognizing your inner mammal, and that we can rewire ourselves, and um, hopefully my goal is always going towards like a more harmonious world than we have now. I know it's not going to be like, as I said, completely um, perfect or utopian, but I do think we can do better. So if we can get more people to do this, do you think that's something that could happen on a bigger scale?
Well, I'm working on it all the time. I wish I could say that I was very successful, but maybe not. So here's the thing. First, when people hear this, everybody wants to rewire someone else, right? Because everybody feels the pain of like somebody else's problem. And they
Mhm.
think, oh, I would be good all the time if it weren't for these other people who upset me.
Yeah.
But you can't rewire someone else. And while you are blaming your problems on them, you're not seeing how you're creating problems for yourself. And maybe even you're creating problems for other people. So, my idea is that people should start by taking responsibility for their own brain. Because as long as you're focused on other people, what's wrong with other people,
Mhm.
you're just not making any progress at all. Now, the next thing is the world is almost going the opposite from what I'm saying, because when young people are taught about how their brain works, they're mostly taught about disorders, like something is wrong with you, you go to the doctor fixes it, and that's the opposite from being responsible for your own brain. So I would love to teach more young people about what I told you, but no, in our schools, it's not allowed because they want everyone to think of it in a medical way, which I think is terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think we did circle back to some kind of systemic change if, to get to. It's not that I necessarily personally want to change everyone, but I recognize that, as you said, everyone has the power to change themselves. But there's also that kind of you need to realize that you have this power, and a lot of a lot of what I then think of is how do we get that information. So it basically goes back to getting that in schools, um, preferably from as young as an age as possible. That yeah, I don't know how young could you be to
Well,
to
so here's a
this. Yeah.
question. I agree with you, but if you go to a 12-year-old and you say animals fight all the time, so we have this impulse to get angry at others, and we have to learn to manage it. And this anger and frustration, we're producing it ourselves, and we have to manage it ourselves. I don't know if a 12-year-old would understand it, or would they use that as an excuse to
Mm.
say, you made me mad, you're acting like an animal, so I
Yeah.
it's okay for me to hit you because I have an animal in me too. So
Yeah,
I'm so
yeah,
worried about
yeah.
them taking it the wrong way.
So there should be like a certain age limit um,
Mm.
to where
Yeah,
you
but I
stop.
don't know what it is. And the other problem is when you talk to parents. So when you tell parents that, every child has this, let's call it selfish, in the interest of time, to just be
Hmm.
direct. Everyone has this selfish impulse. They're like, no, not my child.
Yeah,
It's all the other children are bad, but my child is good.
yeah. There's that. Ugh, I just think like there's always something.
Yeah, it's really, really
Yeah.
hard.
As you were saying about the children, I thought, well, there's even I think some adults that would take that and misuse it. So yeah, maybe the ultimate way is that you have to have some kind of self-realization that something needs to change and that you come across this work. And yeah, I mean, it would be nice if technically you could teach everyone and everyone like
Yes,
fix it
exactly.
themselves. But yeah, you kind of have to, some things you have to, it's your journey that you come across. And yeah.
Yeah.
And
And that's why, I have some people who read my books and they're like, wow, this is fabulous. This is so good because now I have power over my brain and I can make myself happy. And
yeah,
they love it. And they say every minute of every day is just different. And then other people just completely dismiss it,
yeah. Yeah, it has to resonate. And I think not everyone is at the same level of or the same phase, yeah, in their life. So yeah, it varies in that way. It's almost reminding me a way that I found to rewire my brain is when I went to regression therapy. And so I wouldn't really hold on to situations. And the therapist taught me to and kind of visualize the situation and um, see how I could have. It's a lot of times it's about how could I've acted differently. Some situations where I was smaller, yeah, I probably couldn't act differently, but still, in those situations, I got to go back as um, like almost a guardian of that smaller self um and kind of reassure like my inner child then in this case that I'm here and that's not going to happen anymore. So it's really reminding me of this kind of it's all for me it was also a way of rewiring and yeah, I would say getting rid of the traumas, but like lessening the effects and learning how to live with them. So I was wondering if that's also kind of like basically what you learn to do. But I think in maybe in the situation of the eye contact, it's a more practical thing that you can kind of get over. But do you still have moments where you kind of go back to the no eye contact, or is that completely gone?
Um, well, it would be maybe different examples. Like, if uh so here's what I learned about animals is that they have status hierarchies. And it doesn't sound nice, but it's true. And research in the 20th century shows, like in almost every single animal, like they are always fighting for, like, who's
Yeah.
stronger and who's weaker and who's going to boss who around.
Hmm.
And so there are always those situations where I'm going to feel like I'm the little monkey and someone else is the bigger monkey.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes, like, I don't spend any time with mean people, but sometimes even a person's trying to be nice, and they say to you, well, why are you such a little monkey? You should be a big monkey, you
Yeah.
know? So it could still trigger that feeling. But all I have to do is tell myself I have control over the way I think about what they said. And if I continue to not agree with what they said, I have control over whether I spend time with this person. But I don't have control over what this person thinks. So I'm not going to try to change them, you know.
No, no, that's yeah, that's something that um I also don't aspire to, because it's impossible, of course. And the experience of that person and how they grew up and all the baggage they carry also inform how they think. So there's no possible way to, yeah, I have that sometimes, what you were saying about the big monkey, little monkey situation. Um, is that also used to be much quieter when I was younger, and I really had to find my voice. And I think it's also because I was so like really the youngest in the family, and my sisters were so much older, and everyone was so much older than me, and I always got uh, you're either like some variation of I'm quoting now, paraphrasing now. So you're small, you don't know what you're saying, or something like that, and that as I grew older, and I started processing why don't I talk, why am I quiet, why don't I speak up when I have to speak up, and that was really one of the points for me that no, when I wanted to speak up, I always got like you basically you're a little monkey, why why are you saying something? And I noticed that in certain situations where I'm uncomfortable or I feel like I don't want to be there, that little monkey comes back, and my voice really drop, and as loud as I feel like I'm screaming,
Yes, yes,
it's not
yes,
it's not coming out. So yeah,
yes.
I recognize that as much healing we can do, as much as rewiring that we can do, that there will be those situations where for me it's a lot about energies, where the energy kind of like I don't know if maybe that's also like a mammal thing, that they kind of feel the energy around them or something like that.
Yes, well, so here's the thing. In the animal world, if you assert yourself in the wrong place and the bigger monkey gets mad at you, they can kill you in an instant.
Mm.
So we have stress chemicals, cortisol, that people often hear about, that turns on, that says you're in danger, and it tells you to pull back.
Mm.
So this is the stress feeling that people feel throughout the day. Its job in the state of nature is to say, this is not safe, pull back.
Yeah.
And then if you pulled back all the time, an animal would not meet their survival needs. So sometimes they have to push forward. So a happy chemical tells you when to push forward and assert yourself. So when do you push forward? Sometimes it's because you see your own strength and you're like, yeah, I'm strong enough to push forward. But sometimes it's because you're desperate. It's like an animal is so hungry
Yeah.
that, they just keep trying. And sometimes what you said about energy is because you have positive expectations. Because if, let's say, a monkey sees a tree full of fruit, and last year, and the season when the tree bloomed with fruit, and it created such excitement that it released dopamine, and that connects your neurons. So next year, when the same tree gets ripe, and it triggers your dopamine because you recognize it, and that good feeling gives you the energy to move forward. And that's why we tend to assert ourselves in situations that are similar to whatever worked in our past, which is why then sometimes we just repeat the same things over and over and don't try something new.
That makes sense. You just stay in your comfort zone. That would
Yes.
be the one
Yes.
moment. 1 second, I need to plug it.
Sure.
I didn't want to interrupt you this now. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I guess that's why a lot of people stay in their comfort zone, and it's so hard and nerve-wracking to get out of that comfort zone. And um I guess you would use the same technique if you're in a situation that, or if you want to break out of the comfort zone and build different, what do you call it?
Neural pathway.
Patterns. Yeah,
Yeah.
patterns or habits. It's the word I was looking for. And yeah, and so in your work with coaching people, how is that generally
Um, I
received? This I
don't
don't. Yeah.
I don't get a lot of coaching clients, but I'll
Okay.
explain what I do. So, the biggest pathways in our brain are built when we're young. That's when our brain is like clay. And so every one of us is looking at the world through the lens of old neural pathways. So if a person tells me, this is my problem, I always do XYZ, but I really wish I was doing ABC. And so I always go back to, why are they doing XYZ? Because for some reason, they were exposed to that when they were young, and they were rewarded for that when they were young, and it built a very deep pathway. Or they mirrored, when I say they're exposed, they mirrored, like someone in their family was doing that. And every one of us is sort of repeating things that were done around us when we were young, as much as we would rather not. And so most people are not very eager to be shown how they are finding that early pattern.
Mm.
And then the idea, once you see that it's just a pattern, is to say, how can I create a new pattern? The new pattern, instead of hating yourself and hating your old pattern, is just, what would I like the new pattern to be? Is something positive. But to make it easy, it should be something you like. And that sounds obvious, but most people think, oh, I have to be good, and like I have to eat vegetables and do push-ups.
Yeah.
But it's like, we can't change everything at once. So let's start with something you like, you know? And then every time you're tempted to go down the path you don't like, then we're ready with this new pattern of something you like, but it's a healthy thing that you like rather than an unhealthy thing.
Makes sense.
So I help people figure that out. And I think they just go away happy in 1 hour.
Wow, an hour. That's
Mhm.
fast. But I was gonna ask if like some element of us not doing what what we don't like, or sorry, I think that's it. Some element of us doing what we don't like, if that's also um, that kind of having to belong to a group and kind of having to do something to belong to the certain group. I think that's where my mind went.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And in the animal world, it's easy to see that animals pay a high price to belong to a group. For example, if you're in a group and the group runs, then you have to run, even if it's a false alarm. Because otherwise, if you're left behind, the predator is going to eat you. So you have to go with the group all the time. And then when an animal is with a group, excuse me for saying, that all the grass has been peed on by other animals. They don't like that, so they would rather go away.
Mm.
But then if they go away, the predator will eat the one that goes away.
Yeah.
So it's very frustrating to stay with a group. And that helps us understand, like, the reason we stay with a group is because we're afraid that some threat is going to get us if we're alone. And part of the reason we believe that is because it's true, like it is in the animal world. But part of the reason is because our group has indoctrinated us, excuse me, because that's how they keep you in the group, is they tell you that the enemy will get you if you're alone. And they keep talking about the enemy all the time. So
Yeah.
you're afraid to be alone.
Yeah,
And
that makes sense.
yeah. And then the other thing is when you were a teenager, we have another years of neuroplasticity. So our brain forms in our teen years. And whatever you had to do to be in the group when you were a teenager, that's what you are doing today for most people.
You know, when you said about the group, my mind immediately went to like being in high school and you have a lot of peer pressure to belong to a group, right? But then it also understood a lot about myself when it said whatever you were doing to be in the group is because I completely rejected that idea. And I
Yes.
guess I'm
Yeah.
still doing that to some extent.
Yes, yes, exactly. Thank you. That's exactly what I'm doing. I rejected it because I thought it was not worth the price. And I also, because, maybe on some levels, because I feared rejection too. And it was also because my parents got very angry if I was in a group. So for all those reasons, I gave up on groups. And I thought maybe today I give up on groups too quickly. And when I'm with a group, it makes me nervous.
Yeah.
And then I have to admit that I'm the one that's creating that nervousness.
Well, that makes so much sense. The other day, so I'm sidetracking. So, um,
No, I want to hear. Yeah.
yeah, I got my, I passed my driver's exam today, and I was taking the classes, and my instructor asked me, "Don't you go out dancing?" And I was like, "No." And then I said, "I don't like to be around big groups of people." You just explained that to me.
Yep. Yep. And you know what? Now you could say you don't have to pressure yourself to go dancing. You could say, do I like to go dancing? And I'm going to do it when I feel like it and not do it when I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
And you could also say, if you have a goal, if your goal, if dancing helps you reach your goal, then you only dance when it helps reach your goal.
Yeah, exactly. I do like dancing, but again, I don't I don't like having to dance with someone. Like let's say like the couples dancing. It throws me off because I have to like follow the person that like what. Oh, yeah. It explains like having epiphanies of my own behaviors. Why? Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
that's why I don't like to like to dance with someone
Yeah.
either because I have
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
to really
Well,
follow someone.
also, when you talk about dancing, it raises the topic of alcohol. So we might as well talk about that.
Yeah,
So, alcohol is the classic example of something that people do to have a social connection.
yeah,
And also, then maybe possibly pressure people who don't want to drink, and you might feel pressured not to drink, but also like, I don't enjoy being around people who are drinking. So, and fortunately, I found a husband who feels the same way. And we're often like, just like, we don't even understand, like, so many activities that seem boring to us. And everybody's drinking, and the activity is just an excuse to drink.
yeah.
And we just don't even understand it, but at least we have each other.
Yeah, that's beautiful that you found each other. I do drink, but I try not to do it excessively. I don't like when someone really drinks a lot and then they can't stand straight. They can't, yeah, just handle themselves anymore normally. So I understand the disdain kind of for For drinking, yeah. But I do. I was gonna say I do belly dancing, so I have to. I could dance in a group, but we don't have to like hold each other and really watch each other's feet, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But as I said, as I mentioned, the group dancing for belly dancing, I remembered, I heard somewhere that people got very good at synchronized dancing also because of like that mammal aspect, that when you're in a group and you move together to, and I don't know if it was like for hunting or it's like for hunting
Yes.
bit or something like that, right? Okay, I remembered right. Oh yeah, yeah. I think I love nature and animal documentaries, so that's why I'm really able to follow along, and I understand um, the points. Of course, you did much more research than I just watched the documentaries, but yeah, it's really interesting. And do you? I because I saw zebras on your
Yeah, on my
chair.
chair.
I was like, I do you have what do you call that? A spirit animal is the question.
Oh, no, not really. Um, no, I guess because I'm so aware of how animals are. There are a lot of famous cases where people have been in a relationship with a wild animal, like a chimpanzee or a gorilla,
Mhm.
and they are a caretaker for a chimpanzee or gorilla, and then the animal attacks them and injures them very badly,
Mhm.
and very badly. And the person just can't accept it. Like they think, oh, but he still loves me.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't have any idealistic
No.
beliefs about them.
You understand them too much. Well, is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience?
Well, I recently I wrote a novel because I wanted to do something fun. And I took all of the information that we're talking about, but I put it in the form of a novel. And in my novel, this family, they go to the Caribbean at one point. Um, the reason is, well, partly for vacation, but uh, in the book, it discusses this culture I mentioned about teaching people that they should be taking pills to either to feel happy or to feel intelligent. And the company that makes the pills is headquartered in the Caribbean. So they use their vacation to spy on that company. So yeah, so I'll give you a free PDF.
Okay.
Uh, this is a free PDF of the book. If you want to read it, I'd be so happy to hear what you think.
Me, my mouse working. It was off. Sorry.
Is it
Um,
working?
yes.
Okay. And because you asked about my coaching, there's a link, and I'll give a 50% discount to anyone that hears about it on your show. But the important thing is I have a free 5-day happy chemical jumpstart, which is 1 email a day for 5 days on each chemical: dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, endorphin, and the threat chemical cortisol. So, and if a person does that, they can also, it will get on my newsletter. So you just put your email address in here.
Okay, I'll put those in the description box. Let me just copy and save them so I have them already. Um, All right. Yeah. So I think you're doing very beautiful and interesting work. And I'm definitely going like I'm starting to go into an even deeper level of rewiring my brain because I think that the process just keeps going and you just keep discovering new ways and new things about it. And for me, this was definitely um, just a different layer of what I've been doing. But now from this perspective of like your inner mammal and um, that a lot of I think a lot more of our reactions and how we behave is based on this without us even knowing, and we've kind of um, put other I don't know descriptions of what it is or other
Yes.
ideas of what it is on
Yes.
it.
And the reason for
Yeah.
that is our verbal brain is not connected to our mammal brain very
Mhm.
much. And our brain learns from other people. So if other people say, I'm happy because of this, I'm happy, I'm sad because of that, we learn to interpret our feelings from the way other people interpret their feelings
Mm.
rather than from the facts.
Nice. Really interesting. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. And also for sharing the discount or the yeah it's a discount for the listeners, and definitely I would encourage anyone that is either interested of rewiring their brain or maybe they're already on this journey, to try this out. I think I'll sign up for the newsletter and see what I can do with your teachings. And yeah, on that note, I'm gonna close this off. Any last words, Loretta?
Well, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to hear a similar thought process from a person I just met so far away. And that's the fabulous thing about the new world we live in. And it was such a pleasure.
Yes, thank you. And I'll stay in touch. Definitely, you'll hear from me when this is online. And I'll
Great.
just stop the recording.